This is Krис Justino, known as Cyborg.
You're all right, breathe. Yeah. Let's put her on the chair, Just
days before fights like this.
Landsberg is busted up now. Wow, unleashing terror.
You watch Kris fight, it's violent, very violent.
Cyborg pouring it on, and she does not discriminate, going to the head, then to the body.
These other girls that fight, these are girls that fight. Kris is a woman.
Kris Cyborg, yet again, arguably the greatest female mixed martial artist.
Cyborg is the 145-pound world champion of the all-women mixed martial arts organization Invicta. Former UFC champion Tito Ortiz is one of her coaches.
She is very dangerous. She's the most dangerous woman fighter in the world.
I would like people to respect me like a world champ, because I am world champ, but people look like things don't know I am.
Here we go!
And that, she says, is because she isn't a champion in what's considered the major leagues of MMA, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, or UFC.
It's all over! Kris Cyborg!
It's not another fighter, though, who denies her that belt. It's her weight.
Calma, Kris, you need to breathe. You need to breathe. Yeah.
Cyborg, who weighs close to 175 pounds, normally fights at 145. But the UFC has said in the past that there aren't enough strong female contenders that size to have a 145 weight class. Until recently, its biggest class for women was 135.
I cannot do this in my body all the time. I don't know, maybe something really bad is gonna happen for me.
Kris Cyborg!
Still, she was last allowed to compete in the UFC at 140 pounds in September, but not for a title. How much did you cut before that fight?
The week I was there, cut weights 26 pounds.
26 pounds in what kind of time frame?
Like 2 days.
How do you drop 26 pounds in 2 days?
In the beginning, impossible. I was freaking out. You know, you have dehydrated.
I thought this was the part you were looking forward to. I hate this.
This is kind of the dirty little secret that's going on in front of our eyes.
Let's take a look at the eye now.
Dr. Anthony Alessi is a neurosurgeon who for more than 20 years has worked with the Connecticut State Athletic Commission monitoring combat sports.
Weight cutting is trying to wring as much water out of your system so you can get onto the scale at a low weight and then replace the water as quickly as possible.
Medical experts say any dehydration-based weight cut over 5% is dangerous. This means a fighter Cyborg's size should cut no more than 8 pounds of water weight.
Tito said, when I cry, I lose water.
Weight issues have long been a problem for Cyborg. In 2011, she was caught using anabolic steroids.
I did one mistake in my career about doping. You know, I used something for lose my weight.
Now she says she does what most fighters do, dehydrates, by water loading, drinking gallons of water to send the kidneys into overdrive and flush sodium from the body. Or doing cardio wearing heavy plastic suits in hot rooms. Or sitting in a sauna to sweat off the pounds.
We got 700 grams.
You kind of have the concept of walking through a desert and not be able to drink water because there's no water around you. You just want an ice cube. You just want a drip of water. Just something to quench your thirst. People don't understand what it is like to cut weight until you cut weight.
We're just trying to heat you up.
Too hot.
No.
The bath for me, the worst case. Because it burns really hot.
Baby, breathe, baby. Baby, it's 105 degrees.
I go inside the bath and I pray there and I cry.
What we do is we all sit in our room and watch a human being bring themselves close to death.
The consequences can be that severe.
We see fighters go into kidney failure as a result of their weight cut. When you drain the body of fluid, you're also decreasing the production of cerebrospinal fluid, leaving the fighter vulnerable to concussion, hemorrhage, tearing of the brain.
Extreme dehydration has had tragic consequences. In 2015, Chinese fighter Yang Jianbing died during his weight cut, as did Brazilian fighter Leandro Souza in 2013, and 3 American collegiate wrestlers in 1997. Where would you place weight cutting on your list of concerns when it comes to MMA?
Number 1. It's the club shows, it's the medium shows, it's Bellator, it's Invicta, it's UFC, it's everybody. They're all cutting.
It's one of the biggest career killers in boxing and mixed martial arts.
Andy Foster regulates combat sports as the executive director of the California State Athletic Commission.
People are getting as low as they can, and then they balloon back up the next day. They never were that weight, only for like 1 minute on a scale. So now it's gotten into our culture.
Foster says 2 factors have ingrained weight cutting in MMA: wrestling culture, where it's common, and fewer weight classes than in other combat sports, an issue compounded for women in the UFC, which until recently had only 2 women's weight classes, 115 and 135.
There's definitely not enough weight classes for women fighters, especially now that I am bigger. I want to go up to 125, so hopefully they'll open up a 125 division or just more women's weight classes so we're not making such significant drops.
114.6 for Paige VanZant.
And there are other issues that make cutting weight difficult for women.
Many women fighters complain about the fact that it's much more difficult for them to cut weight because of hormonal changes, and that's likely the case.
The women have hormone, the women have period, women hold more water than guys.
You gotta poke her face a little bit.
Okay, baby, but I feel sick.
I know, but everyone's about
I
to
need
see
checking,
this.
meu Deus.
Everyone's about to see it. Put your shoulders back, head up.
Promoters like the UFC, along with regulators, have taken measures in the past year to address extreme weight cutting. Hours have been added to the time between weigh-in and the fight to better allow for rehydration. And fighters are now required to check in at the beginning of fight week within 8% of their target weight.
Good luck tomorrow, you two.
In November, Cyborg told Outside the Lines that UFC President Dana White had never offered her a fight at 145 pounds.
He said, if you want to keep your job, your next fight will be 140.
So why does UFC want you at 140, a class that doesn't exist anywhere else?
I really don't know. I think they don't want to open my division. And then if you then try make all the time at 140, 140, 140, maybe one day I can make 135.
I can tell you unequivocally, we're not going to regulate Crys Cyborg at 135. We're just not. We're not doing it.
Several days after Cyborg sat down with OTL for this story, the UFC offered her a fight at 145 pounds, a title fight in February that would open up a new female division. She turned down the offer. Cyborg says her body needs more time to recover from her last weight cut, which landed her in the hospital.
The doctor tried to take out my blood, and my blood cannot go out. Too thick, they cannot go.
Because of dehydration?
Dehydration. I was dehydrated.
This is a young, healthy woman, but what has she done to her body later on? When she's out of the fight game, I don't know.
Misha looking to choke her out. Wow. She's got it back.
The UFC declined to participate in this story, but just days ago announced a 145-pound title fight that won't feature Cyborg. She tweeted, "Just 2 months ago, there was no girls at 145 to fight. Now they have a girl who's 0-2 fighting for the belt just to disrespect me. The worst part is I fought for the division. I didn't turn down a title fight. I asked for a March date. 10 years, no division, and no respect." Dana White told ESPN.com, "This is a business. I had 2 girls who wanted to fight for the 145-pound title. This is the pros. If you play for the Patriots, you don't sit around and say, I don't feel like playing this weekend." Cyborg wants to fight again. She wants to fight for a title in the cage, in the UFC, and she says she'll be ready in March. Until then, what does your shirt say? Can I see?
Yeah, Crys Cyborg against the world.
Is that how you feel?
Yeah. I do my best, and I have to fight outside the cage all the time. Not just fight in the cage. This is the worst part. Because this is the real fight. Not just for me, I think for everyone.